Good evening. This is the start of the July 22nd, 2022 Planning Commission agenda. Salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Binney, can you call roll?
Let's see if I remember. Mr. McKee? Present. Mr. Henderson?
Present.
Ms. Lischuk?
Present.
Mr. Binney's present, and Mr. Chairman?
Present.
All right. Everybody's here.
All right. We'll get started with item number 1, DANJA Tract 110 Central Ave, Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. Amended Final Land Development.
Good evening, Board. Bryce McGuigan from Begley Carlin here on behalf of the applicant, DANJA LLC. At this point, DANJA LLC and Tony DeSandro, the owner of DANJA, together they are the owners of the property located at 110 Central Avenue in Fairless Hills here in Falls Township. Technically speaking, the property that we're here for today is 3 separate parcels. And the proposal is to consolidate these 3 undersized parcels, which total right around 1/3 of an acre, into one parcel and build a 3,800 square foot warehouse on the new consolidated parcel. The new warehouse is going to be used as part of the applicant's business, which is located right there across the street on the property, CVA Incorporated, which is a long-standing business here in the township. They do site work for residential subdivisions and other residential developments. Everything short of actually building the houses. So we're here tonight seeking recommended approval for the amended final land development application for this particular development. Before I get into some of the details here, I have 2 people with me here tonight. I have Tony DeSandro, who is the owner of the property, as well as the owner of CVA Inc., together with Megan Kinley from Gilmore & Associates, who's the engineer on the project. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts, just a little bit of the background, because this one has a unique background, so to say. The property itself is zoned highway commercial. It's presently vacant, just vacant woodlands, more or less. It fronts a private street that is located right behind Jefferson Hospital across the way. As I alluded to, the project has a bit of a tortured history. Originally, the prior owner of the property went for variances in 2003 to build this. Those were denied. There was an appeal and ultimately a settlement in 2008. Following that, the prior owner got all of his final land development approvals. A resolution was passed by the Board of Supervisors, bringing us up to 2011, so only 11 years ago. Since then, nothing happened, absolutely nothing. So Tony bought the property and the business from the prior owner in 2015, and at some point over the past couple of years, Tony took a look at this and realized, hey, this was all approved and maybe we should try to get going on it. So what we're trying to do today is more or less the same project that went through the ringer over a decade ago and was ultimately approved by the Board of Supervisors. Like I said, all of this happened under the prior owner. Tony bought the business and now he's trying to do essentially that exact same project. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the waivers and some of the review letters, I think now might be a good time for Megan to come up and just take the commission through the site plan a little bit here to orient everybody so that we know what we're looking at when we go through with the waivers. Megan?
Good evening, Board. Megan Kinley from Gilmore & Associates. Our site is located, as Bryce previously mentioned, south of Jefferson Hospital and north of the Peruzzi Nissan dealership. The site is comprised of the 3 parcels. We want to consolidate them into a single parcel just shy of 14,000 square feet. Also, as previously mentioned, everything was previously approved, 3,800 square foot warehouse building. The notable difference with this plan versus the previous plan is that we are no longer utilizing an underground basin. We want to use a rain garden, which is going to be located here in the northwest corner of the property. We are still using some of the very similar stormwater approaches. The grading scheme has stayed relatively similar, and along with that, I'm going to hand it back to Bryce to go over the waivers.
Yeah, so, long and short, project, what you're looking at here is pretty much the exact same thing that was approved 11 years ago. Just the only notable difference is, as Megan said, how we're managing the stormwater. So we're still mitigating it, just doing it a slightly different way. So in light of that, a lot of what you're going to see tonight was already seen by the township officials and elected officials many, many moons ago. We are asking for a total of 11 waivers, and before I get into the waivers, I know that recently we did just receive the fire marshal review letter, and just want to tell you everything in that letter is a will comply. The one comment involved the use of the building. The use is going to be, again, accessory to the contractor or office and warehousing operation that exists across the street. And the second comment, which is kind of the meatier comment, was with respect to fire hydrants, whether there's a fire hydrant within 400 feet of the property. Happy to report there is. There's one about 150 or so feet away.
So with that, that's the way to travel. Since you can't come in the back way through Central Ave, the fire department's going to come down Spencer to Central from Lincoln Highway. So I believe the intention of the fire marshal is to have one on the way to the building.
Okay.
Not go past the building and then come back.
I understand what you're saying. If that's the case, like I said, obviously everything in the fire marshal review letter will be a will comply. We understand if we can't comply with that, then there's no development whatsoever. Okay. So we will comply with that. We'll talk to, obviously, the township between now and, knock on wood, if we get a recommended approval today before we get to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. As with respect to the waivers, as I said before, there's 11 total waivers. And what I would do is I'd point the commission to the waiver request letter that I passed up just before the meeting began today. So I'm just going to, if the commission would prefer, I'm prepared to go through these individually, or I could highlight additional waivers that are of interest to the commission. Either way, pick your pleasure. I'm okay with doing it, whatever you prefer.
I'd go through all the waivers you're going to request.
Sounds good. All right, so let's start at the top. Letter A here. Letter A is a new waiver. It's one of the 5 new ones we're asking for. This one here requires the minimum slope of the piping. The plan calls for what the minimum slope should be 0.5%. Plan calls for slopes of 0% and 0.15%. So we are requesting a waiver of that. With respect to waiver B, that involves an 18 inches of cover over the bell of the pipe. With reason we can't do that, what we're doing instead is we're using reinforced concrete piping, so it shouldn't be a practical concern. Waiver C, that this is a previously approved waiver. It involves site distance, dealing with the private road. And again, this was one that was previously approved pursuant to a resolution by the Township Board of Supervisors. Waiver D, this one again is a previously approved waiver, involves curbing. There's no curbing in the area, so we're asking for a waiver for that just to blend with the surrounding industrial community. Waiver E, that's a new one, that's for sidewalks. I'm not sure why it wasn't requested before. However, there's no sidewalks in the area. It's industrial part of town, so we're just again trying to blend with the surrounding industrial parcels and what's there now. So we're asking for a waiver from that requirement as well. Moving along to waiver F, that again is another previously approved waiver. This involves open space between the parking and the building, together with the parking area and the property line. It is a small parcel, as we discussed, just shy of 1/3 of an acre. There's really no way to make it work while maintaining the buffering and the spacing that's required by SALDO. So that's why we're requesting the waiver. And again, it was previously approved by the board. With respect to waiver G, that involves curbed and planted islands within the parking area. This parking area literally has 4 parking spots. It is a very, like I said, small parcel. So again, the need for landscaped and nice looking little islands is not, I would say, practical here. The next waiver, waiver H. Waiver H involves sloping near the property lines. We're aware that we're going to require temporary construction easements from the adjoining property owners as a result. We understand that, the client understands that, and we're going to have conversations with the neighboring property owners to effectuate that. We have 3 waivers left. motoring through this. Waiver I, this one's another new waiver. This one involves street trees. Again, it's a small parcel that fronts a private roadway that, again, is highly industrial. So we are requesting a waiver from this because, again, there's no street trees there now, so we're just trying to blend with the neighboring industrial parcels and the little industrial community that we have back here. Waiver J. Waiver J and K are both, again, previously approved waivers. J involves the alteration of woodlands. The property right now is just woodlands. That's why it was approved way back 10 years ago. We need it now or else we can't really do anything on the property. K, this is standard waiver that involves showing existing features within 200 feet of the property. If we had to do that, the plan would be a lot more detailed and a lot larger than it is now. So just as a practical matter, because we're dealing with such a small parcel and one that was, again, previously approved with this same scale and this same level of detail for those existing features. So we're just asking for that again. Just briefly in closing, before obviously the commission has any questions, and we'll be more than happy to answer those. This is a simple project, one that went through the ringer a long time ago, and we're really just trying to reinvigorate that old project that was approved. We're putting that before you here today, and again, the only practical difference, the only notable difference is the management of stormwater, how we're mitigating that. The rest is pretty much identical to what was seen before and what was approved before. So with that, either myself, my client, or Ms. Kinley would be more than happy to answer any questions that the commission has. Thank you.
Thanks.
So, Mr. McGuigan, I had one question. When I look at the waiver requests, especially the first two, the plan says it's section 187-13B4, and your waiver says 187-12B4. Do you know which one it is?
Off the top of my head, I don't. Obviously, it seems like there was some sort of a clerical error at some point. I will double check on that, obviously, before we get to the board. However, the substance of the waiver is for the slope of that piping, that 0.5%. That is the substance. And I apologize for the clerical error there.
And then the plan will be revised to include all 11 waivers that you're requesting?
Yes, of course. And then again, we just prepared, we took a look, obviously, at all the review letters. We prepared this waiver letter for you today. But everything will be revised and updated so that it is reflective of our requests.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Mr. Jones, any concerns?
I would just ask Mr. McGuigan, you reviewed our review letter, and our review letter coincides with the waiver request. If that's true, then I would use the identification numbers from our review letter because they don't have a clerical error.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Will do.
Any public comment? I'll take that as a no. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
So if I use Mr. Jones's review letter, it seems like the correct number is 13. So I'll make a motion to recommend the amended final land development plan for tax parcel 13-005-202, 13-005-207, and 13-005-208 for DANJA Tract, with the recommendation to approve the following waivers from section 187.13B4, 187.13B5, 191.34D1F, 191.36, and 191.62B. I'm sorry, 191.36D and 191.62B. And from section 191.39G and 191.61A, and from the provisions of 191.37B, 191.37G1, 191.44D, 191.48A, 191.52.1B4, and I would recommend a partial waiver for section 191-79C2. The applicant will provide whatever information Mr. Jones deems necessary to review the plan. Also, with the stipulation that the comments from the fire marshal's letter of July 25th, 2022 be addressed, as well as the, and Mr. McGuigan, you didn't mention anything about the RVE. I assume that's with the exception of these waivers as well
That's,
comply?
will comply, yes, sir.
So then, also that the applicant will comply with the sections indicated in June 21st letter of 2022 from Remington Burnick.
I'll second.
Mr. Benny, pull the board, please.
Oh, yeah, that's my job now.
Mr. McTeague?
Yes.
Ms. Leschuk?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Haney?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll move on to item number 2. Gary Lux, 351 West Philadelphia Avenue, Morrisville, PA 19030. Conditional use for approval for storage of dumpsters and parking of trucks.
Yeah, other than, this was dumped on me yesterday, so I was kind of mothballed to, come here. We put in for an application for two tenants we have that store dumpsters.
Could you introduce yourself, please? for
My
me?
name's Gary Lux Jr.
Thank you.
Just give us a history of what you want to do.
Yeah, basically, we have two tenants. They want to be able to store dumpsters on our property. Been there, dumped that, in red box. They dumpsters, and they have, 2 trucks each, so they got 4 trucks that sit on the property. And there's 2 locations. One's on the left side of a wooden shed, and the other one's in the back area that's paved. And that's basically it. I mean, that's all they're doing is storing dumpsters there. There's no structures involved or anything like that. I looked at some of the notes from Jones that I was just handed a couple minutes ago, and the property is lit back there. We have lighting all over the place. They are been there, dumped that. I have to double check, but I'm pretty certain the macadam ends about 20 feet before the fence, and they're on the macadam, so they should be within that 12-foot setback.
Can you just give us a little description of what you currently have on site there?
We're an industrial contractor. We were approved on our conditional use back in 2012 to store trucks, steel, refractory materials on our site. And, we're heavy industrial zoning in our site. So, I mean, to me, we were doing the same thing here, just storing, equipment and trucks. So I didn't see where the difference in conditional use was required. They told me we had to go through it, so we have to go through it, that's fine.
And you currently have a gate there that you close?
The whole entire property's fenced in. The border in the back where they park, there's trees back there on the fence line, so there's a buffer between the neighbors behind it.
Okay.
So if there's anything else, you tell me we need to do, we'll do it.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
I got one question. Is there screening placed on the fence?
There's no screening on the fence, but like I said, there's all kinds of shrubs and growth in front of the fence.
Okay.
You can barely see the fence. But if they need screening, we'll put screening up. And that would be just where been there, dumped that is. The fence where Red Box is a fence, and that's our property behind the fence, so I don't think we would need to screen that.
Mr. Jones, any concerns?
I would just add that we can work with the applicant's engineer to make sure that any comments in our letter are addressed to our satisfaction prior to the August conditional use hearing. So we know Vince Fioravanti, and we can get clarification on the extent of the buffering and,
Okay.
and make sure that the applicant provides that, or at least agrees to it.
Copy, thank you.
This property, I mean, it's, on one side, it's industrial uses, just the left side, way far left side, it's actually in Morrisville.
That's Morrisville, yeah, we're in both towns.
Is that the only residential?
We have the privilege of 2 property taxes.
Is that the only residential pieces that butt up against the property?
You got Wright Avenue, and what's that, Royal Avenue back there, I guess. There's a couple homes, and then there's a guy that does mechanical work, like repairing trucks and stuff like that back there. And then when you come around on the backside, on the other side, I think there's 2 more homes back there.
That would be on Hall Avenue?
Hall Avenue, correct, yeah.
That's all I have.
Is there any public comment? All right, I'll say that's a no, and entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve a conditional use for 3 GMC Realty LP, Red Box Plus, and been there and done that. Tax map parcel 13-047-081. And as long as they abide by Jones Engineering's letter and, anything additional from the fire marshal.
I don't have any letter from the fire marshal. I don't know if he needs anything.
Just put it in there, just in
Okay.
case. Just in case.
Okay, all right.
I'll
He's
sec-
due to come for an inspection, so we're ready for him.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Benny, poll the board, please.
Mr. McTeague?
Yes.
Ms. Leschuk?
Yes.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Haney?
Yes. Thank you.
Very much. My sister said it was just for 3 people that bought the property. No, okay. Well, I just want to make sure I get everybody.
I don't believe that they need an attorney, but I would certainly recommend someone that's familiar with the process of neighbor notification. You contact Realty, I believe is your engineer.
Right.
He's a good guy, he can help you out, maybe tell you who the
Okay.
neighbor notification,
Right.
because if you get that wrong,
Right,
you won't be heard.
right. Well, that's what I'm trying to find out, how I get that right,
So
so.
I'm very loath, because I work for the township, to get involved in these.
Right.
And that's what I was trying to say.
I mean, we have 1 property in our property,
Right.
and then we got 2 that touch our property, and then that's basically about it.
Right, well, it looks like there's more than that, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Right, right, so I don't know, you don't know, I don't know.
Yeah, just, I would reach out to your engineer
Yeah.
and see what they say, and they'll help you out.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, have a good night.
Have a good night.
All right, item number 3, approval of the minutes from May 24th, 2022. Any comments, suggestions, updates needed?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Welcome Mary back.
Welcome, Mary.
Welcome back, man.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.